Hello, fabulous Aquarius. Welcome to your horoscope for the month of May 2014 Love Focus. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. Well, this month where it comes to love, the real standout moment occurrences seem to take place towards the end of the month. That is that towards the end of the month, we have a new moon taking place in the part of the sky that have to do with flirtation. It has to do with that bond that is needed to allow love to flourish, especially in the beginning. The lightness of a connection that allows something to actually be formed that in turn will grow towards you ultimately making that connection. And so this is really having fun with a person, having joy with a person, and sharing experiences that add sweetness, which in turn will contribute to your ultimate understanding of your own worthiness to be loved, and also in your own understanding of the joy that love can actually bring into your life. And that ultimately we form these partnerships because we believe on some level that they are meant to lighten our load. Add to this as well that this energy ultimately is an energy of fertility as well. And so I would just putting this out there. This particular new moon is actually very harmoniously placed to Mars, and Mars being in a very harmonious placement to you as well. So this particular new moon is taking place in the sign of Gemini, air sign, and we've got Mars moving in an air sign, by this time newly direct Mars moving through air sign Libra. You add all this together and it does suggest that love is certainly energizing you and encouraging you to dream and envision the future, if you will, and a future that feels very empowering as well. But at the same time, what we do have happening is that this particular new moon is speaking with Neptune in a more challenging conversation. And so astrologers, we call this a square. And this is a conversation that has to do with tension, and it has to do with motivation. It has to do with being honest with yourself and identifying what isn't working so well so that you can then own your power to work on your own behalf, to move circumstances in a direction more of your choosing. And because Mars is so harmoniously placed, it does suggest to me that you certainly are spurred on and you certainly are inspired to do the work, and you believe in yourself and you're actually taking the action. And ultimately, it really is squares that are the marker of progress. They are the marker of success, because unless we have that motivation, unless we see things that we want different, we don't actually put in the work to ensure that they are different. And so when I look at this particular placement for you and the way things are playing out here, there are a couple of things that jump out at me with this. So this is an energy ultimately, as I said, of fertility, of fun, of the joy that love can bring, yes, but it's a creative energy. It's a fertile energy. And so you may find yourself fertile, and you add to this, Mars is ultimately a planet of attraction, of energetic response, and it's about physical intimacy as well. And so I'm just going to put this out there. It looks like for some of you, the fertility is there. And if you want, you could certainly find yourself very happily with child, because it seems you're very energized by it. There may be a little bit of a moment where it's like, whoa, can we really do this financially speaking, given the placement of Neptune to this? However, it does look like things can fall into place very nicely based on the vision that you have, the belief that you have, and the energy that spurs you on. If that's something that you don't necessarily want, you really should be taking some steps to make sure that that doesn't happen, because how you respond, how happily you respond is really going to depend on the intention that you set. And so if you want to be happy about it, you'll tap into that Mars and be energized by it. If you have ambiguous feelings about it or otherwise, then you're going to end up tapping more into that square and having some mixed feelings and being kind of not sure and sort of saying, oh, why did this happen? And you don't even need to go there. You do not need to go there. And that's one of the great things. Astrology ultimately is a mirror. And it allows us to learn more about ourselves, to learn more about the lessons, and to make our choices more consciously as well. It is one tool of many tools that the universe attempts to use to help us to see things more clearly, make our choices more clearly, and move ourselves towards greater love and greater wisdom, which I think is ultimately the whole point of life, what we're all moving towards. And so be mindful of that as you begin the month, because ultimately this is a new moon that's taking place towards the end of the month. So that should be something good to look out for, and especially in the context of a committed relationship. But where it comes to love, okay, so let's just get off pregnancy for a bit and talk specifically about love. It looks like those of you who are in a committed relationship, it's almost as if I'm seeing you sort of have a moment and say to each other, like, you know, we really need to figure out a way to nurture our bond a little bit, because it looks like we're kind of caught up in what we need to do to support ourselves. That could be one way it manifests. Or it seems like we don't have the type of resources we wish to actually do the really grand things we hope to do together, is another way that this energy could manifest. But ultimately, this is about renewing the commitment and the shared sense of value, which does come along and will allow you to then take that energy and move towards a greater understanding of how the two of you operate to facilitate each other's love and each other's growth. Those of you who have somebody in your sphere right now, this placement figures especially strong. And it does in the sense that it's very likely right about now that there might be a moment when it's like, okay, how are we going to break down the division of resources? So this could play out in a moment where it becomes about, okay, are we always going to go Dutch when we go out? How are we going to set the foundation now to how we share and how it is that finances play a part in this bond? And I think that it does look like there is a bit of a mismatch there. And so you're going to have to decide how important that is to you or isn't. Whereas maybe one person may be more generous than the other. One person might want it to be more balanced than it actually is. But of course, as you already know, given that you are an air sign, it is ultimately communication that tends to work things out. But there is going to be at least one moment I'm seeing where the two of you have to sort of figure out, okay, if we're going to go forward with this, how are we going to actually start setting the stage so that money is kept in its perspective and we're both at peace with the way that we're sharing at least the financial aspects of things. Those of you who are open to love, I think that this energy is much more likely to manifest in terms of flirtations and how flirtations actually align with what you value and your self-value in particular. And so where there is any kind of mismatch, if you feel like you're attracting people who aren't really matching a sense of value, it's going to be about deciding, well, what exactly does that mean? Because there's a type of value that says, you know what, I deserve to be with somebody who speaks to me kindly all the time, who doesn't just freak out on a moment's notice. And that is a healthy type of self-value, to say, you know what, I don't deserve anybody freaking out on me. There's another type of self-value that says, you know, I deserve somebody who buys me diamonds every single day, for example, which can become a more superficial type of value. With Neptune in this type of conversation, the superficial is not going to do, because it's really going to be about looking at the reality of the situation and not allowing you to escape into any sort of fantasy. One thing is for sure, though, it is the feeling of love, the feeling of creativity that is being highlighted now, and the feeling of fertility that is being highlighted right now as well. You can use this feeling to actually spur you closer to another person and to help you learn just what love can feel like in your body, in your adrenaline, and in your responses. If you do that, then you nurture a bond that has the real potential to be a source of great happiness for a very long time to come. Thank you for watching. It'll be a great month. Be fabulous and enjoy.